Today, we've got a lot to talk about. Sean Payton was talking to media at the owners' meetings, a whole bunch of updates, including on Jonah Elliss. Kind of interesting. Our guy, Zach, is going to join us in just a second to give us the full scoop. We are live from the Toyota Lounge for the DNVR Broncos Podcast. And we're going straight to the expanding mobile call-in line where Zach just heard from Sean Payton, or maybe a couple hours ago. Zach, what did we learn this morning?
Fellas, wow, just jumping right in. I absolutely love it. We learned a lot from Sean Payton. And first thing is first, I brought a little prop for you guys today to start off the show. That says free agent frenzy right there. And the reason is because Sean Payton absolutely hates it. You guys have heard it. NFL Network, this free agent frenzy. And Sean says it's the worst thing in the world because Sean Payton heard all of the fans. And he heard the suffering that the fans were going through that first week of free agency and said, we got to be patient, guys. We got to be patient. We got a plan here that's going on. He said they accomplished everything on their checklist in free agency. We can get back to that. But we heard Sean talk about Jaylen Waddle and point to the biggest thing that Jaylen Waddle brings to this team is he's extremely fast and he stops fast. He can sink his hips in transition. So the Jaylen Waddle is going to play everywhere, guys. He's going to play inside in the slot. He's going to play outside. He's going to be doing explosive plays. He's also going to be a tremendous route runner. That's the words that Sean Payton used. So he loves Jaylen Waddle. And then when talking about Jaylen, Sean Payton, one of the people he trusts the most is Teddy Bridgewater. Teddy played with Jaylen Waddle, and he said he only had glowing things to say about him. Same with Nick Saban. They called him, and he only had incredible things to say about him. They love Jaylen Waddle's on-the-field ability and his off-the-field makeup. When talking about Jaylen, he said all those intangibles came back as a 10, 10, 10, 10, 10. 10s across the board for Jaylen Waddle. That's how excited the Broncos are to get Jaylen Waddle, and he's going to play everywhere for this team. And then the big news of the day, we'll just dive in right now. Jonah Elliss going to play some snaps at inside linebacker as well as outside linebacker. So it's not a full position change, but he will be playing some snaps at that inside linebacker spot. And Sean Payton brought up a couple of reasons why. One, his skill set. He also pointed to his brother who has a similar skill set and plays inside for the Patriots. Said he's looking at the team's assets, so looking at the depth that the Broncos have at outside linebacker and the depth that they don't have necessarily now with Dre Greenlaw gone at inside linebacker. And then he said he's smart, he's tough. And so I think this is going to be very interesting for Jonah to kind of have this semi-position change a couple of years into being in the NFL. And I think this is really, really, really good news for Q Robinson. And honestly, I think that's one of the major reasons why the Broncos are doing this is to get Q Robinson more snaps at that outside linebacker spot. Sean's a big fan, but George, remember just a couple of months ago, George said that Q Robinson might have the most upside and potential of anyone in the Broncos draft class last year. So I'll pause for there. We got a lot more to get to. If you just want me to keep rambling, I can.
No, I had a question real quick.
Okay.
Where are you right now?
I am right behind me is where Roger Goodell, as we say in Broncos Country, does his press conferences.
Okay. Because you don't seem as boisterous as usual.
Well, I noticed the little change in Zach's voice from yesterday.
Oh, is that what it is?
I think it was a little bit of a late night last night.
Ah, that's what it is.
Well, last night in here, I was at the exact same place yesterday when I did this hit, but they had music going on. And so I felt like I could be a little louder. And now it's just me in this room with other people here. And I just, trying to be courteous, but also was late.
What time did you get back to your room last night?
1.
Okay, all right.
That's not bad.
That's late for Zach.
That is true.
Woke up at 6. Run on
yeah.
It's good.
I know him too well.
Yeah.
Over a decade together at this point. I can
That's very true.
Okay, let's just get into this Jonah Elliss thing, and I'm going to say hate.
Oh.
Under one condition.
Oh.
Well, I might not hate if there is a condition. If this is to make space for a Cam Jordan or Von Miller at the position, I could be more interested. Not enough snaps right there right now. You like Jonah Elliss. You want to keep him. You want to keep developing him. Maybe you get him a couple snaps at inside linebacker. But the reason I hate it has little to do with his skill set or I think his ability to do this and more to do with just the case studies of this ever working. I don't think the split position thing really ever works, especially at these two positions. We've seen it with Drew Sanders, didn't work. We've seen it with Baron Browning, didn't work. A little bit different, but we saw it with DeMarcus Walker where they're like, well, he's kind of a defensive end, he's kind of a defensive tackle, we're going to try it both. Didn't work. So I just don't think that plan works. And so unless there's a good reason for it, I don't like it.
Yeah,
and that's pointing out Zach Bond.
Yeah, well, and Sean actually pointed to Zach Bond and said, we weren't able to get him on the field in New Orleans, but the Eagles are having no problem with that. So you could tell that's one that kind of got away from him, and he's kind of hoping that he can be the next Zach Bond for the Broncos there. But Ryan, I mean, you're absolutely right. I can't tell you anything different than what you just said, and it's hard to convince myself that it's going to work. That you just hope that he's established enough as a second year, now entering his third year, that it's different than these other guys. Because when they did it with these other guys, it was like coming out of the draft in their first year in the NFL. So that's hope that it's going to work out, and we'll see. Is it 5 plays a game, and so he's not really actually impacting him, or is it 50% of the plays that he's on the field he is going to play that backup inside linebacker spot?
Yeah, I'm very curious about it.
Yeah, people are bringing up Zach Bond in the comments. Sure, there's one. Seems like an outlier. And then I'm not accepting Carl Mecklenburg as an answer to this.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Now, let me be clear. Carl Mecklenburg, a unicorn or a
we
rhino,
do appreciate
if
him.
You would.
Yes. Wow, very similar.
We're not taking case studies from the 80s, 70s? 70s for this case. But he could play everywhere. Famously played all 7 positions in the front 7 in one game.
Yeah.
That's
Collins?
incredible. And
No, still no. Okay, not Jamie Collins.
Ryan, really quick, because you said it, I'm not quite sure about Cam Jordan, but we pretty much officially already crossed Vaughn off the list. Come back to the Broncos. We can do it with a marker now.
You can do what?
We can cross Vaughn off the list of returning to the Broncos.
How is
pretty
that?
confident in that.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. All right. Yeah. Well, that was fun while it lasted. What about Cam Jordan?
Potentially. I don't know. Wasn't able to gather info one way or the other. I still do. I think that this move is for Q. It's not for an outside guy, but it could be.
What else we learned today?
Learned a lot in the past 24 hours. So Bo Nix, guys, since the last time I talked to you, we've heard from now Greg and Sean that Bo Nix is ahead of schedule, going to be ready, fully cleared by the time OTAs rolls around. Really quick on OTAs, it is not starting until June. Typically it starts a little earlier, but because the Broncos made a deep run in the playoffs, Sean's pushing it all back. So Broncos actually don't come into the building until May 4th, and then they'll have all of May together just doing weightlifting, and then they're on the field for June. But we have now got confirmation from the owner and the head coach that Bo Nix is ahead of schedule and fully cleared. So that's really good. Sean had a little fun moment today where a national reporter asked a question about comparing Bo and Caleb's fourth quarter comebacks this past year, and said how similar they were. And Sean said, no, Bo's was better. And then he threw in the I was being funny. He literally said I was being funny because he didn't want to get crap for being rude to Caleb. But that was a fun little moment there. Dre Greenlaw, guys, you could tell that this one hurt Sean Payton. You can tell that he really likes Dre Greenlaw as a person, as a player. He said it was a very tough decision. He said it's also disappointing to see that not work out. And that's what it was, guys. Dre Greenlaw just didn't work out here. It's not that he's not a good player, not a good person in the locker room. He just did not work out. So you could really feel the passion that Sean had for Dre Greenlaw. And a big reason for that is because of the passion that Dre Greenlaw has for playing football. The most emphatic Sean was the entire press conference was when he was talking about J.K. Dobbins, and he raised his voice. He said, J.K. Dobbins was a priority ahead of all others, referring to all of the other running backs on the free agent market. Kenneth Walker, Travis Etienne, said that the Broncos liked J.K. Dobbins more than all of those guys, especially at the value that they got him at. And a big reason, he was fourth leading rusher when he got hurt last year. The Broncos, I'm going to say it again because I heard it more last night, and today. The Broncos truly believe his injury last year was a freak thing because it was a hip drop tackle that keeps getting pointed to. And so because I'm hearing it,
It's
I
not
gotta
about
relay
the
it
injury
to you.
last year. It's not about the injury last year.
Even if he was totally healthy last year, still wouldn't trust him.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow, that's wild. But I'm telling you what they're saying, what they're thinking, and also because of the type of guy he is off the field. We talked about it. What George said when he walked in the building last year, JK totally changed the building. And Sean said he's a guy where 10 people follow him. He is such a leader where almost half the locker room will follow him and do what he does. And Sean just absolutely loves JK Dobbins, but saying improving the running game will be a focus. And guys, the Broncos are still going to add to that running back room, whether it's after the draft and free agency. I still think it's going to be a day 3 pick in the draft. They're going to go running back. So those were the biggest things from Sean. And speaking of the draft starts tomorrow at 7:30 in the morning for the Broncos to prepare for the draft. Sean said, we're all going to be back in Denver in the war room, preparing for the draft at 7:30 tomorrow, and we're not going to leave until the draft starts, which is, of course, 3 weeks from this coming Friday for the Broncos.
Wow. Sorry for their families.
Yeah. The families get paid.
They have like sleepovers, campouts.
Right.
Remember when Hackett and the offensive staff didn't leave the building for literally 3 weeks and they just didn't win any games?
Yeah.
I also remember hearing funny stories from people on Vic Fangio's staff being like, his kids don't live here, his girl doesn't live here, like, no, he has nowhere to go, and we all just have to stay in the building as long as he stays in the building. We all have families to go back to.
Yeah. That kind of sounds like maybe Sean's offensive staff, not so much the defensive staff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's quickly on the Drake Greenlaw thing. I find it interesting because I feel like it's when you're playing like matchmaker as a friend and you really love this one person and you have this other friend and they're both single and you're like, you guys should get together. I really like you both. Like, I feel like you have a lot in common. Like, this would be great. And then they meet and it just like, there's just no chemistry and they like kind of end up like resenting each other for some reason. And you're just like, damn, I thought that was going to work. Like, I still like both people. That's what I'm getting from Sean there.
Yeah, and they're both like beautiful people, and you're like, man, I just thought you'd really work, and I guess you're just better going off to your ex in Dre's case, where they absolutely love him. I think that's a really good way to put it, Ryan. A couple of things from yesterday after I joined you guys on the show that I want to get you caught up for right now. Let's see, stadium update. Guys, the stadium stuff is getting real right now, and this is the most urgent that I've heard anyone be about the stadium. The Broncos feel like they're still going to be opening the stadium in 2031. They're still on track for that, but they are coming up on some big deadlines that need to be hit, including a community benefits agreement. When you hear CBA, that's what that is, community benefits agreement that needs to be worked out. They still need to buy the concrete company that's there. There's clearly some tension going on there and a couple of other private lands that have not sold yet that the Broncos need to buy. And so the Broncos making it very clear, Greg Penner, Damani Leach, that they need help from the city, from these private businesses, from the community in order to get this thing done. Greg Penner said they hope to have the preferred off of the preferred site dropped in a couple of months, but they need to make sure it's the permanent place where they're going to build before they do that. They want to start construction next year, guys, early next year in order to open in 2031. And they're coming up on some deadlines. So it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. But clearly, Broncos put the full court press on the public, on private businesses, on the city yesterday. And I think we're going to continue to see that go. So that's going to be a very fascinating one to follow right there.
I feel like that they're directly talking to me. They're like, RK, we need you to get back on your, pedestal and start chirping about how we can't have this not happen again. And I'm the man for the job. Just let me know whose doors I need to show up with crowbars at, and I will put the pressure on.
SRG Concrete, I believe, is.
I saw that they said we're not going to be the reason the stadium doesn't get built.
I mean, that's what you say. Like, you hold that, like, that doesn't mean like, oh, we're going to give him a deal. That means like we're going to save some face.
So I do need to show up there with a crowbar.
Yes.
You do. You can't. Here's what I'd say about that. You can't trust everything you see out there. The Broncos have bought almost 150 acres. You think that they haven't reached out to the concrete company in a while? No, they want that land.
All right, let's get it done.
Yep.
We might have to use some of that concrete on the bottom of some feet.
Oh, it's a shame that river's kind of dried up at the moment. Makes it a little less effective, but it would be kind of annoying to be kind of standing there.
2 more things really quick, guys. The Broncos' new practice facility is still on track and on budget, because I know we all care about the Walton's money right there. And it is the Broncos are going to move into it in June. Then they're going to tear down the existing building at the end of June and put some temporary bleachers up for training camp. So the capacity for training camp is going to be about twice as big as it was last year, but it's still not going to be a finished product. Then eventually in the next year, the Broncos are going to, where the current facility is, they're going to tear it down and build a new hill for Broncos fans to sit on. So I would expect 2027 training camp to have just no issues with it. But this year, there still will be some constraints, but it's going to be more fans. And then the final thing, George Payton, we know that his contract only has 1 year left on it. Yesterday, Greg Penner said, we want to have George here a long time. He's been terrific with Sean, and I'm sure we'll get that sorted out. So that's all the updates that I have from Broncos meetings today.
Sounds good. I'm just figuring out about this SRM Concrete, and they are biggest supplier of dry concrete powder in the entire country.
Wow.
They are. We're talking $1 billion company worth $1.6 billion for concrete. They've got 500 plants across the country. So they're not dealing with a mom and pop business. They're dealing with a big time business, but they're still like 1/70th of what
I was going to say. That's chump change.
Right.
It is.
What are we talking about?
Yeah.
Just give them whatever they need and put them in Commerce City. Let's go.
I completely agree.
I feel like we need to give them an ultimatum.
Make it expensive.
Like we will start the boycott if this isn't over.
Right.
When?
I don't know.
The concrete
I'll stop buying concrete from them. Yes.
I think that people within the Broncos organization watch the show, so just send us what we need to do.
Do we start showing up with signs?
Yeah, we can.
Some concrete puns.
Yeah.
We'll think about it.
After this, Walmart just might have to start making their own concrete.
Ooh, right. Take over the concrete business.
Oh, yeah. You don't want to play these games.
You don't.
No.
All right. Thanks, Zach, for jumping on the Xfinity mobile call-in line. Imagine that.
See you, fellas.
We'll see you tomorrow. Imagine that. All right. We've got a lot to talk about, including how we're going to get after this concrete company. But real quick, going to give a shout out to some of our friends. Toyota is the official vehicle of DNVR, and if you're in the market for a new car or truck, Toyota is the place you should go, because whatever you are trying to do, whether you're in Colorado trying to get up into the mountains, or you have a bunch of stuff you need to haul, or you're an off-roader, whatever it may be, they've got a truck that's just right for you, like the Tacoma or the Land Cruiser. They also have 17 models with available all-wheel drive or four-wheel drive, like the 4Runner. So go check those out, but also check out their more low and zero emission vehicles combined than any other automaker. 16 different hybrid vehicles to choose from, like the Tundra iForce Max hybrid truck. Visit your Front Range Toyota stores at a location near you. AutoNation Toyota, Arapahoe and Centennial, Corwin Toyota in Boulder, Groove Toyota in Littleton, Mountain States Toyota in Denver, Stevenson Toyota East in Aurora, also Stevenson Toyota West in Lakewood. Toyota, the official automotive partner of the NFL and the official vehicle of DNVR. Let's go places. Also want to give a shout out to our friends over at Bet365, where hopefully you guys made some money on the Rockies yesterday, because nobody thought that they were going to beat the defending AL champs up in Toronto, but they did it. And there's a whole bunch more stuff that you can get in on. Avs won by a lot last night as well. No Denver sports tonight, I don't think, but they'll be back in action soon. You got more college basketball on the way. If you're watching sports, you can make it a lot more fun by going over to Bet365. That's what they also have, the early payout offer. So if teams go up early, you get to take advantage. The Rockies did it last night. There's never been a better moment to prep for the playoffs than right now with Bet365, where you can bet $10 and get $365 in bonus bets. That's Bet365, where winning is everything. Download the app, use code DNVR365 at sign up today. Call 1-800-GAMBLER, or gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Please gamble responsibly. Must be present in Colorado. $10 minimum deposit required. Bonus bet wager excluded from returns. New customers only. 21 and over only. Time limits, minimum odds, and terms and conditions apply. In-app only. Void where prohibited. Back into the DNVR Broncos podcast in the Toyota Lounge, and we're building the Broncos, but not out of concrete.
Good.
Building the Broncos is presented by our friends over at NuBilt, where if you're trying to build something or restore something, NuBilt Restoration Construction is the place to go. When the home emergency hits, NuBilt Restoration Construction will be there at nubilt.com or 720-902-7472. Let them know that DNVR sent you. Real quick, I've been reading about this. So they're family owned, which makes me like them, of course. But then you see number one nationwide. Also, you look at their history. First sentence has a typo. Founded by my parents with an apostrophe. Yeah.
Your parents what?
Exactly. So we're going to start right there.
Parents' dog?
Right. Doesn't say that, but we'd have to assume. If anybody has any good plans for a boycott or a picket or something, we got to get this thing on the books.
We got to get these stadium plans in concrete.
Right. So number one nationwide ready mix producer, 24 states across 40 regions. I would have thought there are more regions than there are states.
Wait, what was it?
24 different states they're in, and they're in 40 different regions. Getting really specific with the regions.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the Front Range could be a reason. The high country could be a region.
I guess. 563 concrete plants, 33 quarries, 12 cement terminals. I don't know what that means, but
which one are we?
I don't have anything clever to say. Yep. I think we just need to figure out what we're going to do about this.
I mean, I feel like this is simple. Like, we'll use your concrete for the stadium, or we won't.
That's probably what they're saying. Right. That's probably the negotiation. I don't know about this. Building the Broncos. Broncos are moving Jonah Elliss. Not moving him, but trying him inside.
And that's my
You're just triggered.
Part.
Okay.
That's my least favorite part. Is like, gonna play a little here, play a little there. It's going to be great.
I think I like it. I like the creativity. I think, especially when you look at what he does. So, as an edge rusher, we like him as a run defender because he's good at getting off of blocks because he has such long arms. And he's able to get in the backfield and blow things up. We don't necessarily love him as an edge setter because it's just under 250 pounds. He's just a little
undersized.
Right. We like him as a pass rusher. Has like the spin move, has a little juice, but also it does seem like there are a lot more like effort sacks. It's not necessarily like here's a quick little move that I'm throwing that you can't stop. It's not like Von Miller beating you. It's like, I'm going to grind you down, but I do have a nice spin move, or I do have like a little bit of a bag. And he also drops into coverage well. Like Jonah Elliss covering the flats from there. And I do think that a lot of those same skill sets, like you're not going to put him in there in like a nickel and say like, drop back into space. But in like that 3-4, moving him inside with how much they blitz, where all of a sudden he's doing all those same things. It does remind you a bit of like a Zach Vaughn or like a Jamie Collins who had that same thing where it's like play him off the edge where he isn't going to be like a 15 sack guy, but he'll get you 10 sacks because he's just good effort, like physical, but you bump him inside and all of a sudden you start using him like a chess piece and he explodes.
Yeah, I think it's an attempt to replace the Drew Sanders role that never was.
Right.
And in theory and in concept, I totally understand why you're pointing to the skill sets, and it's why the Broncos are doing it too.
Right.
Like they're seeing it the same way you're seeing it, and I'm just seeing, I don't like this
because it's never worked.
Because it doesn't.
Here.
It hasn't worked here, and like it. I don't know. It just feels like when we look back, we'll be like, yeah, instead of whole-assing one thing, we kind of half-assed two things.
Unless he's really good.
I would love for that to happen, and we're like, wow, this is incredible. He can do both things at once now.
You actually have a Pro Bowl player here.
Yeah. And I mean, I think there maybe is a little bit of merit to like the bloodline thing.
Okay. Yep.
Where it's like, okay, like this has worked for someone in his family. Like,
right. Well, I think where the Broncos have kind of gotten stuck with this in the past is like Jonah has great instincts. Like that's the thing that you really like is like the nose for the football and getting the right spots. And I think when you move a guy from outside linebacker to inside linebacker, that's the key, because all of a sudden it's no longer like I have this simple job, which is set the edge if they run or get to the quarterback if they pass. There's a lot more that you have to read. And whenever there's a motion, that becomes your problem, that everything changes up front. And you have to trust the guy to be able to do that. And I think Jonah is capable. I'm curious to see what it actually looks like, because again, the edge rusher snaps are very strange at this point, because you don't know, like in that base 3-4, I kind of liked him as one of the best guys out there because he is just versatile enough to stop whatever the defense throws at you. But is he a good enough pass rusher that when you're putting your best 4 out there, he's not in that group? Is he the next guy up off the bench? Is he the guy for that? It's kind of tough to say. But now all of a sudden you can bump him inside, and it just allows him to do more things, and you might find that he's best when used in different places instead of just in one spot.
And here's what I do like about it compared to some of the examples I used that didn't work.
Mm-hmm.
This is not happening when he's like a rookie,
right,
or even a second-year player. He's got experience doing it in this defense with the same edge group, the same defensive coordinator. So like he has the edge stuff down.
You can go back to that whenever you want.
For the most part, yeah. I mean, there's going to be times where they're like, hey, like let's make sure Jonah's in this meeting because we're adding this new thing or whatever. But for the most part, I think you could put him in the inside linebacker room more often than not, and he's not going to like forget what he learned at edge. Here's another thing I like about it. Jonah's a football junkie. So it's not like you're going to have to worry about like, oh, does he understand the defense from both of these positions? Are you giving him too much information? Is he going to be confused based on what position? Like, no, he's a football guy through and through and through. And so like whatever extra time or whatever he needs to put in to make sure this works, to make the most of his career, he's going to do. And I'm confident in that as well. So there are some parts of this where I'm like, okay, I can see the vision. I also pretty exclusively trust Sean Payton and the coaching staff and what they want to do. I'm just a little bit scarred from in the past ending up getting a guy who's just okay at both spots rather than continuing the development of a guy who we've seen some really, really special flashes from at the edge position.
Yeah, I think so. And it came up like a week or two ago. Jonah's rookie year, he was very productive. Last year, he wasn't quite as productive. And part of that is just opportunities, but numbers were 5 sacks as a rookie and then 2.5 sacks last year. Fewer tackles for loss. Missed a few games as well. Wound up playing like 75% of the snaps he had the year before. But there certainly wasn't like a step that Jonah took in year 2. And it felt like he stagnated a bit, and you forget that like he was the second most productive pass rusher in his rookie class, despite being so young, like 12 sacks or something at Utah in that last season. And so he came into the NFL, maybe polished is the wrong word, but like with a skill set that was ready for the NFL, which is kind of rare for somebody who's that young. So I think when you don't see that step, you can now ask him to keep doing those same things and continue to play like a third of the snaps, but then also add on another piece and see if you can kind of weaponize him a bit. And if you weaponize him, you might be able to get the most out of that versatility. Because the thing that you don't want is him just lined up in man coverage. You don't want to see him running like a Tampa 2 where he's stuck in the middle of the field. Yeah. Like, I don't want to say you're never going to see this in nickel, because that might be where he's most valuable, is blitzing up the middle out of those spots. But you avoid putting him in those like pure coverage situations, which is what makes him a pretty good pair for Justin Sternad. And you can kind of find something there. And
you generally don't ever want him turning his back to the line of scrimmage.
Right. You don't, that's not ideal. But again, like you see him out in coverage in the flats and he's good at it. So
he's keeping his eyes forward.
Exactly. And you saw a lot of that with like Nick Bonito. That's one of the things that makes him so valuable, is that you can drop those edge rushers, and they're really good in coverage out of that. Jonathan Cooper as well. So I'm curious what it looks like. I think you might see a bunch more just like impactful plays from him if you do put him in the middle of the field. But it is, to me, it feels more so like if one of our linebackers gets hurt, what do we do? And it makes sense to just go to Jonah.
Yeah.
Like, or at least see what that looks like before you say, like, it has to be Lavelle, it has to be whoever.
And real quick before we hit a break, so what's the linebacker room look like now? You've got obviously Alex and Justin.
Yep.
You've got Kearney Reed still.
Yep.
And you have Lavelle Bailey.
Yep. And Jordan Turner also, who they like. We just haven't seen hardly any of those three because they went with the three linebackers who were all starters last year, essentially.
Yes. Probably.
Also, Drew Sanders exists.
You know, probably after we talked about this last week with Jaylen Waddle, like the guys below him on the depth chart are all like,
Right.
Those guys are probably all feeling that when they hear this news too.
Yep. But they could also feel pretty good in knowing that this doesn't mean like the Broncos aren't taking a linebacker with their first pick. You still could do that, and it might change the Jonah plan a little bit, but it does mean that you no longer have like a need for third linebacker. And so now they're competing with Jonah instead of competing with potentially like your first pick in the draft, or if they go get a veteran to just plug that safely.
And that's what I think Jose in the comments was saying. This could be a smokescreen. It would be a very elaborate smokescreen. Because right now, I guess if you were looking at the Broncos, you would say, okay, they need linebacker. They potentially need an interior pass rusher. They potentially need a tight end. Like, you go through it, like, if you were trying to predict who they're going to pick.
Right. That's top of the list.
Land on linebacker.
Yep.
And so maybe this is a little bit of like get people off the scent. I just don't think you're really doing that when you're picking late in the second round.
Right.
Like, I don't think teams are really worried about you at all right now.
No, they're right. That was building the Broncos with NuBilt Restoration Construction. When the home emergency hits, NuBilt Restoration Construction will be there at NuBilt, NuBilt.com, or 720-902-7472. Let them know that DNVR sent you.
If you love the NFL Draft, then this is your edge. The Die Hard NFL Draft Guide is built and based off of thousands of hours of film study, being boots on the ground, Shrine Bowl, Senior Bowl, Combine, talking to scouts, talking to coaches, really getting a feel for where these players are best going to fit and project in the NFL. And we're talking hundreds of players in this class. All right, so what are you going to find in the guide? Well, you're going to find player comps. You're going to find strengths, weaknesses, physical tools, analytics, highlights, analysis from all across the space, everything you need to try and determine who are the best players for your team. You get access to the guide if you're a diehard, and you'll also get access to a couple of individual breakdowns I'm doing specifically for your team. All right, look, if you want surface level breakdowns, you can get them anywhere, but if you want independent thought, if you want thorough breakdowns on all of these prospects, become a diehard, get the guide. Or you can get access to the 2026 guide for just $26. Let's win draft season.
Shout out to our friends over at Surfshark. Having a VPN is so important for so many reasons, but I'm actually in the process of buying flights. One of the ways a VPN can help you is by changing your location through a VPN to somewhere else where they're not going to charge you as much for flights. People have been using this trick for a while now, and it really does work because you're just getting targeted with those prices. One of the many perks of having a VPN, getting around like location, I don't even know what you call it. Is that what a firewall is? It might be a firewall. You're trying to watch something that's blacked out wherever you are. VPNs can help. So many different perks, including just better security for your whole house. And that whole house is secure with Surfshark because there's no need to count the devices. With Surfshark, you can set up one account, use it on unlimited devices. There's a 30-day money-back guarantee, so you can check it out for yourself. And they've got 4,500 different servers in all sorts of different countries, 100 different countries. Go to surfshark.com/DNVR Broncos or use code DNVR Broncos at checkout to get 4 extra months and a risk-free 30-day money-back guarantee at Surfshark VPN. Back into the Toyota Lounge for the DNVR Broncos podcast. I want to remind everybody we have an opening day party on Friday, which is going to be electric. I guess I've said it with like the Rockies pod before. I've never said it here. Opening day might be my favorite day of the year. Like, I don't even get excited for Christmas anymore, but for like a month leading up for opening day, I just like, it's almost like I check the price of tickets like 4 times a day. So you're like, oh, this is a good deal. That's a bad deal. Like, I've been checking the weather like twice a day, and it's
Getting a little better?
There's so many years where we'd see like 55 and like a little bit cloudy and be like, that's her. We did it.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. But then after this year, you're thinking like, oh, it could legitimately be like 84 and sunny.
I do firmly believe, as someone who's never been to opening day in any other city, that Denver does opening day better than any other city.
Right. Because nobody goes to work. Like you wake up and like get ready. We have like a balcony. We live down kind of by Union Station. You walk out there in my Rockies jersey, put sunscreen on, and there's just Rockies fans all in the street like 4 hours before the game. You're just like, it's just the best. So I'm excited. Opening day party.
Wait.
Yeah.
Which is also a good time to promote, once you're done promoting the opening day party, what we're doing for our Friday show.
Right. So for this, should say opening day party is at Wind Coop Brewing, kind of by Union Station, right next to the stadium. It's an awesome spot. There's an all-you-can-eat buffet.
Funny story about the time I got kicked out of there.
Wow. All-you-can-eat buffet. You get a drink ticket. It's super cheap. Right now, there's a 2-for-1 deal going on. 2 tickets for $35. It's a steal. Come hang out with us. You'll be there, right?
I will be there.
Are you going to the game?
Probably not.
Why not?
Just a myriad of reasons.
We haven't bought tickets yet if you want to go.
I'll think about it.
Okay.
I don't think I need to go to a Rockies game in the cold.
Did you see what happened last night?
I did.
They scored the most runs of any team in the majors this year.
It's impressive.
Yeah. No Rocky slander here. And today they play the ghost of Max Scherzer. Also, because we are going to the show on Friday, tomorrow we are taping. I'm not sure. We haven't decided like live or taped yet. But we've got Broncos Jeopardy going. Yeah. With a pretty good cast. I put together, what would it be? I'm about 51 questions for RK, RG, and D-line. Bunch of nicknames. Yeah. And it's going to be pretty good.
Yeah, I'm super excited.
Yeah.
Hank put a lot of work into this off of just a random idea that I threw out in a meeting.
Yes.
Which is my favorite thing that happens.
Right.
When I just have the idea and someone else does all the work. So thank you.
Yeah. So tomorrow afternoon, we're going to be potentially going live, potentially taping. Haven't decided yet, but be on the lookout for that. All right. So what else did we learn about the Broncos? The Jaylen Waddle stuff is interesting. Kind of what we expected. Playing all over the place, move him around a lot. That's how you pick out matchups, which is what you want to do. But also said we're going to have some speed packages for him, which might be a bit of a bad sign for Marvin because those were the things that you did where it's like, oh, jet sweep or like put him in the backfield. I kind of wonder if Jaylen Waddle is the guy who's actually in the backfield now and not Marvin Mims.
Yeah. And I mean, we've had this Jaylen Marvin conversation a lot. One part that I just don't think we've said directly yet is that Jaylen is better than Marvin.
Right.
All of that stuff. Right. So obviously that's what the Broncos should do.
Right. The only thing Marvin has on him is 1.5 inches of height.
And punt returns.
Well, because he does it.
Yeah. He does it really well.
Do you think Jaylen will be an all-pro? Doesn't matter. We'll give it to Marvin.
Have that conversation.
We love
Marvin.
Marvin.
Give something to Marvin.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, he's faster than him. He's shiftier than him.
Right.
Maybe Marvin a little better broken tackles.
There might be something there.
If I were just to guess.
Yep.
But that's what the Broncos should do with their shiny new toy, is put him in a bunch of positions to get the ball and make explosive plays. We all love Marvin. I think Marvin's still going to make an impact. He also can make an impact down the field. Like, he doesn't have to get those manufactured touches anymore. He's going to get really good coverage matchups. So yeah, I support this idea. And it also sets up Marvin to, like, you can use Jaylen as a decoy.
Totally.
You know, you could send him sprinting across formation, get everyone going that way, and boom, then you throw a smoke screen to Marvin on the other side. Like,
right.
It's not all bad for Marvin, but the Broncos should be taking some of the great designs that they made to get Marvin the ball and give those to Jaylen.
Totally. Now, I remember a few years ago talking about how, like, the Broncos had a slow defense. Like, I think it was the Dolphins year, the year of the 70-20.
Yeah.
And
they didn't even have Jaylen Waddle in that game.
Right. But that was just like a time when sometimes even good defenses aren't like the fastest, or sometimes they're mid defenses. Like, there's some defenses that are built on speed, there are others that aren't. And so there will be times where if you say, we can get Jaylen Waddle and Marvin Mims on the field at the same time, that's tough to stop. And I'm really curious to see how often they go to that, but it's all just going to start with how do you use Jaylen, because it feels like good offenses, they find things that work, and then the really, really good offenses are able to like take this one strength and turn it into a different strength and turn it into another as the defense adjusts. And that's why like half the teams that you see start the year well will all of a sudden slow down because they aren't able to find like the next thing after a defense figures out how you take this away. And so you start by saying like, okay, what if we build this offense around Jaylen and say on every play, the defense is giving him something or they're rotating everything over. What comes of that? Like, how do you then start taking advantages of the one-on-ones, or can you run against that? And so I think there's always like that evolution of an offense over the course of a season, but you do start with like, what do we think we are best at? And it has to start to me with how do you use Jaylen Waddle? And I wonder if it really is like, we're just going to throw him in motion a bunch. We're going to give him running starts, and like legitimately he might just have like 12, 13 targets those first few weeks to force defenses to throw assets his way.
Yeah, absolutely. Imagine like a full house pistol package with RJ Harvey behind the quarterback and then Mims and Waddle flanking him.
Imagine the Wildcat. RJ Harvey himself was a quarterback.
Yeah.
Take the I mean, Bo is kind of like a running back himself. Also can throw the ball, but like
we have to protect the ankles.
We do have to protect the ankles. Sometimes you go back and watch and you're just like, this guy's, he's like crazy fast.
Yeah.
Like he might win a race against JK.
No.
I think he would. I have Bo in the race against JK.
Okay.
Yeah.
He is fast for a quarterback though.
But he changes angles on guys. Well, it doesn't matter. But the point is like that speed along with it, like, because you already see, like, with Marvin in the backfield, there's so many different things you can do. And, I mean, they've got 3 months to figure out all these fun things they get to do with Jaylen Waddle. And I really think they're going to come out of the gate really hot with it.
I love it. I love that concept of just being like, defenses don't know what we're going to do with him. So let's use him in every way possible in the first 2 weeks of the season, to make them all have to write that down in their notebook of how are we going to defend Jaylen Waddle? Well, they ran him on drags. They ran him on, tosses. They did jet sweeps. They went down the field. They used cheat motion. Like there's no like, oh, here's how they're using Waddle. Like this is, you have the full Rolodex of options.
Yep. So Sean said that coaching flag football was humbling. I think that's probably the word.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's interesting. I think he was obviously supportive of getting more flag football going, especially like women's flag football, where it seems like there's a lot of momentum. I saw like the Big 12 was thinking about adding men's flag football.
Interesting.
Yeah. The report came out like yesterday or today. They'd start in like the 2028 season. But it's kind of crazy how fast that goes, where it feels like in a decade, that's just going to be like a real thing that's happening.
Yeah. I was talking to my good buddy's niece and asked her what her favorite sport is, and she said flag football.
Yeah.
She's like a baller. She plays quarterback.
Right. And I think that we kind of just saw the moment where like it kind of breaks away from normal football, because a lot of the time you think of it as just like football for softies, or like it's like football light, like diet football.
Yeah.
But it really is just two different games. And that's one of the things that Sean said is like, it is just a different structure. And for him, like when you talk about like recruiting, he said they're looking at college basketball. They're finding point guards that aren't tall enough to play at the next level. Point out like a women's basketball player in particular who's like a guard in college and was quick. And so they convert her and say like, we think she can play college football, which is interesting though, that it really isn't like the same pool of talent that goes to the NFL, which is something that we obviously see because none of those guys are 180 pounds.
Yeah, no, I think I think I use like baseball and cricket, like maybe those are too far apart, but like there's eventually we will have to look at it as a different sport if we want to enjoy it.
That is true. Talked about Jarrett Stidham and Sam Ehlinger. He said there's competition. wasn't any different than last year. There's nothing that's etched in stone. There never is, and that's a good thing. Okay. Which, again, just competition for the backup spot. No big surprise, but not something people usually think about when they think about those two quarterbacks.
Yeah. Speaking of Sam and Stiddy and Bo.
Yep.
The video that Bo's wife posted, did you see it? The full length one? So
I like read the tweet and saw like the first 3 seconds and just scrolled past. That's the kind of thing that just I'm not a huge fan of. Makes me a little squirmy.
Really?
Yeah.
I just love seeing people really happy. And the full video was like probably like 90 seconds of all of their families and friends' reactions. Had me tears rolling down my face. Yeah, it was good. It's great stuff.
It's very Facebooky to me. You know, like where they do like, it's like I also don't watch gender reveals because it just makes it like uncomfortable.
Okay.
I don't know. The one more before we hit the final break. Talking about Davis Webb calling plays, Sean said, I think it changes for Davis and Bo a little. Bo is in there with Logan Kilgore now. Logan will be as warm and fuzzy. Now Davis and myself will be like, hey, what are you? And then starts laughing. I think they have a great relationship. There's a cohesiveness in general. Also be working in every part of the offensive meetings. Just that I'm glad we have Davis coming back, and I think that experience will only help us.
Nice.
Interesting, though, that he seems to be pushing Davis to be
meaner. Hey, that's if you're going to be on the Sean Payton coaching tree.
Well, I mean, it's the Bill Parcells coaching tree.
Exactly.
Like, that's what Sean said. Was like, yeah, I was like nice, and then I learned how Bill Parcells did it. And sometimes you just have to be mean and scream at people. That's what Davis is learning this year.
He's going to screaming school.
He is.
I kind of believe that to be true. As much as like I want to be like yelling is unnecessary.
Right.
And, like Benny would be here being like, we're grown ass professionals.
Right.
We don't need to be yelled at. I think it works.
I think that's part of the game.
I think it works. It doesn't. There are coaches that are way over the top with it, and it can't be your main way of communicating.
Right.
But if something is incredibly urgent and you raise your voice to a level that says, this is incredibly urgent, on the other side of it, you're going to receive that, wow, this must be incredibly urgent.
I should get this one right. Yeah.
Yes.
One of the other things Sean has said in the past is that like you don't get to pick who like your mentors are. Like it's kind of just like the path you follow. And that's why he said like there are other ways to do it, but I learned the Parcells way. And so that's what I know is how to be that kind of coach. And it's the same thing for Davis Webb, where it's like he's under that Sean Payton tree, which is the Parcells tree, which means that that's just a piece of the puzzle. Just kind of interesting. It is Taco Tuesday though. So we got to give a shout out to our friends over at Taco Bell.
Taco Tuesday, that's right. You like that? Throwing up the teas?
Take a little time out.
Crispy chicken, Crunchwrap, sliders, Eric.
Bro,
you ready for this, D-line?
That's a potentially dangerous combination of
words.
It's
a mouthful to get out, but they're small in size, they're big in taste. Look at that bad boy.
Adorable.
It's just a little baby.
Oh my.
Let's bite into these. I haven't tried these yet.
Okay. You know what I noticed first?
Oh yeah.
The chicken.
Oh yeah. Yep. They're not messing around with this crunch.
So this is just fried chicken made into a Crunchwrap. I'm gonna vote yes on that.
What a time to be alive. Yes. Get yours today. Keep them in stores. Local Taco Bells. Do the thing. A blessed Taco Tuesday to you all.
All right. Shout out to our friends over at Taco Bell. And of course, Toyota, as we are back in the Toyota lounge. Let's bump back to yesterday because there were some things we learned after the podcast, because that's when we heard from Damani Leach. That's when we heard from Greg Penner. Now, the big stuff was obviously the stadium. That's what people want to know about. But you do not care about the stadium.
Well, they kind of made me care about the stadium.
Really?
They put the bat signal up for me.
They did.
They said like, hey, RK, things don't change. It's not going to be in Denver. That's not what they really said, but it's what I heard.
Yeah.
So now my flag is up.
Yeah. Well, I think they also said a bunch of times that, like, yeah, 2031 is possible, but it would be tough to do getting everything done by 2031 because there's like the steps with that concrete company. They have to get the community agreement figured out.
CBA.
The
Community Benefits Agreement.
Exactly. You have to go through the Denver Water because their facility is there. And so they have to move that facility somewhere else, which you have to pay to do. So there's a bunch of steps, but the fact that they said, like, yeah, 2031, we hope, but also it'd be tough to do. Even more of a bat signal. You
Yeah.
could chase those concrete boys out of there quickly.
I'm not in a rush, to be honest.
No, neither am I. I like the current stadium.
I do too.
I actually really like it.
I love it. I had a great experience there the other day.
Right? We were just there.
Like, if you could tell me that would be the stadium for the next 20 years, I wouldn't bat an eye.
No, but I think it's iconic. I think people see that stadium and think Broncos at this point with like the curvy top. You always see it next to the mountains. Like it's not Lambeau, but I do think that there's a piece of that. I think the way the sun hits it, like you watch a game on TV and Broncos games look different than any other team. Like they don't look like Panther. Like there's like that warm glow.
It's not an option. It's either new stadium there or new stadium somewhere else. So
right.
Let's get new stadium there. But if it takes till 2035, I don't care.
Right.
As long as that's the spot.
I know. You can stay there as long as you want. They still haven't like picked an architect or anything. They talked to a bunch of different people trying to figure out what's next, what others are thinking about the situation. It seems like that's a decision that's made after they finalize and say this is actually the place we're going to be.
I did randomly hear from someone that they thought their firm was going to get it. So.
Interesting.
Didn't know what that meant at the time.
Right.
Just pretended to be interested.
And just smile and nod.
They're like, oh, you like the Broncos? Blah, blah, blah. I was like, oh, cool.
I believe every person related to the Broncos has now said Bo will be back for OTAs.
It's good to know.
I think we got from Sean for the third time this morning.
Have you said it? Well, just now you kind of did.
I think I said it at the end of the season when they said, yep, he's definitely going to be back in like a month or two. But then after that, it's kind of been
good.
But on every layer, they keep saying it.
I'm just waiting on that video of him throwing to Jaylen Waddle like pre-OTAs.
Right. Yeah, when they're out in like a high school field or something. Yeah.
Come on down to Denver East. It's right across the street. And you guys come over, do a little interview here.
Maybe we should set that up.
We could videotape the throwing session if you want.
Right.
We could just put it on our socials first if you want.
Like, Bo, do you want to throw to Jaylen? Jaylen, you want? We could set it up for him.
Well, matchmaker.
Yes. Hopefully it goes better than the other one.
Did Zach end up asking Greg Penner about how he felt about Sean giving up play calling?
I don't think so.
I was really looking forward to that. Answer.
Oh wait, no, it is. It's in the next question. There are two about Davis Webb. Whole quote from Greg. I think that Sean always wants to do what's in the best interest of his team and the Broncos organization. He and I obviously talked about it, but this was entirely 100% his decision. We have a lot of confidence in Davis, and I think Sean is going to be very supportive of him.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's always interesting to hear them tell us what they've heard. Because what Greg Penner just told us is, I heard the people who said that this came from me.
Right.
And I'm telling you that that's not true, and we're to just guess whether or not he means that or not.
Right.
I don't see the Penners as those types of owners.
No, I don't think so either. Especially not yet.
Yes.
Like eventually.
They don't have any reason to not trust Sean Payton at this point.
Right.
So if he said, I'm holding on to play calling, Davis can go be the coach wherever the hell he wants, they would have been like, all right.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens. And then if that failed miserably, then maybe they would have said, like, next time I think we're going to get involved in that decision-making process.
And I think part of it, like when they hired Sean, one of the things they said is like, we want to learn how this works from Sean. In some ways, like Sean is their mentor. Not in every way, but in some ways there's some of that. And so moving on from when Sean says something, I think it carries a little more weight.
Yeah.
Now when Sean is 75 and potentially senile, that might be when you step in.
Sure, but how old are you at that point?
I wonder. How old would Greg be? He's got to be in his 60s.
Looks good though.
He does look good. But then you have to think, like, if you were in your 60s and a billionaire, how would you look? Probably pretty good. 1969 he was born. So he'll be 60 in 2029.
Ooh, you oversold him.
I did.
Hopefully he's not listening.
Yep. Probably is. I think the last thing from Greg is just that he said it's nice to see a little bit more attention on the Broncos when they play the videos. Talked about it last night. I have a tremendous amount of respect for the teams in our division. Everybody's trying to get better. That's the biggest takeaway. We're never going to be satisfied. We're not going to feel like we're done. So we're just going to keep pushing the next level and what it takes to get there. Kind of big picture. That's what you'd expect, but that's what he had to say about it.
Was there any conversation about like free agents that are still out there? Not with Greg Penner, but with Sean Payton or George Payton?
I don't think so. I think all we got was like we're going to keep looking at running backs in the draft and then after the draft as well.
It's kind of interesting just because it's been somewhat of a big topic on our show in terms of Von Miller, Cam Jordan,
right, and
Calais Campbell.
Right. It is.
Looking at you, Zach.
Right.
Just kidding.
Right. Damani, who you'll remember previously was very important in the international aspect of the NFL, like working for the league on international things. It's part of the reason the Broncos have had the push to do all the international stuff. He was asked about potentially playing an international game this year. He knows he said technically they're in the mix to play in Mexico City, but they haven't heard anything. There was a report yesterday that the 49ers said they didn't want to play the Broncos because that would be the game in Mexico City. You get to pick two teams that you don't want to play in that game. And so they chose the Broncos as one of them.
What?
Well, if Broncos are the best team in the AFC, you don't want to give up your home field advantage when you play them.
Fair.
Yep.
Lame, but fair.
Lame, but fair. But then also said we haven't heard anything about playing.
Also, you don't want to play the team that plays at 5,200 feet when you're going up to 7,000 feet.
Right. Right.
Smart move, bastards.
Those bastards. Yeah, and a bunch more stuff about all of the stadium and all of that. Figuring out how to do things with the community. And I would sum all that up by saying, like, yep, in terms of partnering with the community to build a stadium, said the right things.
Good.
Yes.
I feel like we're really good at saying the right things.
Really good at saying the right things.
You're not going to get a Bills-esque press conference from the Packers.
Right, or the Bears or any of them. He was the one actually, or at least was involved somehow in Jaylen Waddle's visit to see like the stadium and those sorts of things. So he got to talk to Jaylen. Said Jaylen looked at the new facility and said, "This is amazing." And he said he's coming from Miami, which is another great facility. Have you seen that one?
No.
It is really cool. They posted like a drone video recently. It is really nice. But yeah, so he said having Jaylen say that means something because he has been to that facility in Miami. And so he loves getting the feedback from the players, and it's all very positive.
Nice.
Yep.
We do have a very professional group running the Broncos.
Really do.
It feels really. It is comforting.
It is a
sort
good
of,
thing.
You could take it for granted until you watch these other people talk.
Yeah. And sometimes it'd be nice to not have people who are so professional. Like, I would enjoy if you were the president of the team because I would learn so much more about like what's actually happening, and it'd be a lot more fun, and we'd have like things to talk about.
Yeah, and I wouldn't say things like we respect all of the other teams in the division.
No. And I think we kind of appreciate that. Yeah. But at the end of the day, it is better just to have a president who talks like a president. So good job, Damani, for doing that.
Very presidential.
Very presidential, which is what you want from your team president. George Payton, we talked about most of that yesterday. I don't think there's anything to hit. Anything you want to wrap up before we get out of here?
No. Concrete company.
Right.
Let's go.
Yep. And everybody in the chat, think of the ways that you would blackmail or coerce or whatever that concrete company into just giving things up.
Yeah.
I don't think they're based in Denver, which is one more reason where I just don't feel any affinity for them.
Sure.
So yeah, SRG I think is what we decided. Yes, SRM Concrete. Largest ready-mix concrete supplier in the country, 8,500 team members. We're going to overtime, and we're going to wrap this up by saying, come up with some ways that we can get them to give that site to the Broncos. That's going to do it for today.
Fastest overtime ever.
Yes, Zach will be back, but we have to do it. Zach will be back tomorrow, and be on the lookout for Broncos Jeopardy tomorrow as well. See you guys then.
We all silly like the mayor.